I am your host, Michaela DeRosina, and before we get started, I want to say a huge thank you to Suffolk University's Sawyer Business School for sponsoring this conference. As you may have noticed when arriving, this location is a perfect hub for tapping into Boston's innovation ecosystem, as well as getting the opportunity to learn and connect with industry leaders. The goal behind Startup Boston Week, are we all familiar with our goal? The goal of Startup Boston Week is to connect the entire Boston, Greater Boston, and New England startup community, all industries, all departments at various startup stages to connect with one another. The team that creates Startup Boston is a volunteer team, and most of us here today are also volunteers. The team that creates this is, so thank you for attending this conference, and it is a labor of love, and we appreciate you taking the time to play a big role in shaping our startup community. Thank you so much for attending this Startup Week Boston, and now on to the session. Thank you.
All right. So welcome everyone to today's panel on the email apocalypse. Just quick show of hands, who here is experiencing issues right now with reaching your prospects? And this feels pretty resonant. Okay, great. So the topic, it's as relevant as ever for businesses trying to reach prospects effectively. I'm Katie Bickford, and I'm thrilled to be your moderator today. The world of outreach is changing fast, and I'm tall, so I'm trying to make sure that I stay in this without crouching down. So the world of outreach, it's changing fast, and traditional email is starting to lose its punch. So with inboxes jam-packed and attention spans shrinking, companies are struggling with low open rates, tougher spam filters, and a prospect pool that's increasingly harder to engage. But where there's disruption, there's also innovation. So AI-driven personalization, multi-channel strategies, and new platforms are offering fresh solutions. And today, we're going to dive into how businesses can break through the noise and thrive in the post-email world. So I think we've got some seats right up here if you guys want to cruise on up. There's some room up here, you guys. So before we get into the discussion, a little about myself. I've built sales organizations from the ground up for companies like NLX, which was originally Enernoc, Acquia, and Starry, helping them achieve billion-dollar valuations through IPOs and acquisitions. I'm also the author of the Parinama Method, a framework to increase emotional regulation and confidence and transform your relationship with fear. I co-host, starting to sound booked and busy here. I co-host the Business Psychos podcast, where we dive into what it really takes to be successful in the business world right now. And soon I'll be stepping into the role of Chief Commercial Officer for a company focused on industrial energy efficiency using a revolutionary micro steam turbine. So enough about me. Now on to today's incredible panelists. Quick round of applause for these folks. It's my privilege to introduce this group of accomplished leaders who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in their field. So for those of you who raised your hands, experience a sense of initial relief, help is on the way here. So Josh and Lynn is the founder and CEO of Groby. It's a career development platform designed to enhance networking skills for international students. Joshin is no stranger to success. She graduated magna cum laude from the Questrom School of Business and earned her MBA from Harvard Business School. As a lecturer at BU, she's been ranked as the top instructor for the Career Toolkit course, and she brings unmatched energy, empathy, and expertise to career development. Please, round of applause. Next, we have Robert Fani, the Chief Marketing Officer for Health Metrics. Health Metrics is a leader in health data analytics, providing anonymized respiratory data through their patented Clarinet device. Robert's work is helping individuals monitor their respiratory health while delivering critical data to organizations. With a background in biomedical engineering from Boston University and a stellar career in executive leadership, Robert is pioneering innovation in the health tech space. And finally, we're joined by Kristen Kohler, currently area sales manager for Angel Aligner. Kristen has over a decade of experience in the dental industry, holding an MBA from Boston College and a degree from Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Does that mean you're a pharmacist?
No, I was a dental hygienist.
Oh,
Of course,
fantastic.
they have a dental hygiene school there.
I just want to point out that I just want to make sure we make that differentiation so nobody's asking me for drugs. Her expertise in sales and business development in healthcare makes her a valuable contributor to today's conversation. So together, these leaders bring a wealth of knowledge. Let's get started. So to kick things off, can each of you share in 5 words or less what you think is the biggest challenge businesses face today when trying to reach prospects? Joshin.
Thank you for having me. I would say it's keep getting and keeping your customers for a long time.
Robert.
I would say, and this is kind of tried and true, it's actually 6 words, if that's okay.
What round of applause? Does he get 6 words? Okay, let's go. Yeah, you got it.
So right message, right person, right time.
Nice. All right. And Kristen.
I was going to give Robert one of my words because mine is only 4. But it's just cutting through the noise. There's a lot of noise and chaos out there, and customers and prospects are having to kind of figure out what's legit and what's not.
Amazing. And the chemistry and the camaraderie on this panel is extraordinary. So Robert, I'm going to ask you a question to really kick things off. How do alternative channels like LinkedIn, phone calls, or direct messages compare to email in terms of effectiveness and efficiency?
I think they all have their pros and cons. I think but they also work in concert together. So I don't think any of them are mutually exclusive. They should all be part of your multi-channel, omni-channel marketing strategy for outreach. Like where email is more, you can utilize it for long form or mid form content. That goes in contrast to if you're using social media like X, where you only have a certain number of characters. So what we do is we use all different combinations. So we use email, we use social media, we use phone calls, we use direct messaging to, like I said before, hit our prospects with the right message at the right time and find them where they are in their space. So most of my marketing strategies revolved around connecting with investors, venture capitalists, high net worth investors, angel investors. So I need to find them where they live in their marketing cycle. So we do a lot of email through HubSpot. We set it up through automated marketing strategy, but we also do a lot of social media for brand awareness to get our name out there. LinkedIn is, the preferred channel of choice, but we also do a lot of posting on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And as we talked about earlier in our initial call, it's great to post and get likes and get engagement, but for us, the secret sauce when it comes to connecting with prospects is the DMing that you can do on the back end of X. We have had so much success in just sending out elevator pitches to our target market on X. For example, we've got a good connection going with the prime initial investor in Zoom and in Canva. We're hoping that that relationship leads to them investing in us from a fundraising standpoint. So I think where email has some of its drawbacks is we use HubSpot. So even though you're doing B2B marketing, HubSpot is very, very cognizant of how many cold emails you're sending out. They're very cognizant of your spam, your bounce back. So you really have to make sure that you're connecting with your warm folks through email and through your automated marketing strategy. It gives you a little bit of leeway on cold email. So that does help us reach new individuals. But for example, our email, we have a biweekly newsletter that goes out. You could probably do that through LinkedIn, but we prefer to do it through our email database, because as we get new leads, we throw them into our CRM, and then they just get on the automated cycle. It's a great format for sending out white papers, promoting our investor events that we do. So it's got a lot of positives, not just fallbacks in terms of its effectiveness. The really hard part about email is the subject lines these days. It's really, really hard to break through.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of A/B testing on our subject lines. We find that a lot of them, some work better than others. So it's just an ongoing process to really, everyone here has a bulging, I think in my Gmail account, I've got 30,000 emails in my account, and they probably go back 30 years. The ones that you just don't delete, they just build up and build up and build up. So, you wake up in the morning and you've got 20 emails in your inbox that you have to deal with. And, so creating, a compelling subject line, that's kind of part of the ongoing struggle with email. But like I said before, if you combine all of them together into like a multi-channel marketing approach, I think you can have success with email as well as other.
Yeah, I think the multi-channel approach is such a critical point. I think one of the other things that Kristen alluded to, or maybe I'm just projecting into it, is the whole notion of you really need to get people where they don't expect to be got. So when you're going to places where people are already flooded, I actually emailed or DM'd a friend of mine who's a CEO on LinkedIn, and their response to me is, "Can you write this to me in an email? Because our marketer, we have a marketer who's actually adminning my LinkedIn inbox, and my business email is what." So some of this is like the discovery about like where are people not being flooded, but also I think the multi-channel approach is one of those things where it's like with shrinking attention spans, if you just keep catching somebody, the subconscious aspect of thinking like, I just keep seeing these names, they just keep popping up. There's got to be something here. So Bob, that was awesome. Thank you. So insightful. Kristen, question for you. Can AI-driven sales processes achieve the same level of personalization as human-led approaches?
So yes and no. I guess it depends on the portion of the sales process that we're talking about. If we're looking at, the very early stage of identifying who's the right person to target, kind of going through all of those data points that we have, AI can do a really good job at personalizing that and sorting that. And then you get to a point where humans are becoming, like we just said, they're more aware when it's AI versus a human. So I think as a salesperson, I try to leverage AI and use it to the best of my ability very early on in that process, where it's almost targeting, identifying, doing the data analytics portion. And then there has to be an element of human touch, personality sort of kind of dialed in after that phase. So yes and no, it can in certain aspects, but there's no way for AI quite yet to have the same sort of EQ as a human. And other humans can pick up on that very easily. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is like time tested and is like, I guess, evergreen is the fact that the people that you're reaching out to are human beings. And a lot of times we interface with them like they're a title. but realize that the person that's behind that title is a human being that has a life that's very similar to yours. This analogy will date me in a way that everyone's going to be like, have an immediately visceral reaction. But I used to say, when you walk into Blockbuster Video, they don't have the gas. They don't have sections for CEOs. They don't have sections for, marketing product. They have sections for drama, comedy, like human experience. And that's the unifying place, because at the time, everybody was walking into Blockbuster. So, one of the things I think that regardless of how the technology evolves, is that human approach, which is that being effective at being able to connect with another human being, is just one of those things. It just doesn't stop working. I don't care, say what you will about AI, say what you will about advancements. I started out when voicemail, was kind of like, dude, like, what's the thing with voicemail? And then email was even revolutionary. So email's dying, and it feels like that's something that has like sort of some type of significance. But, as we're discussing here, it's like, it's just the evolution of the tools that we're using. So Joshin, who has built an extraordinary organization, and I can't wait to hear a bit more about this from directly from you. Is there a way to acquire customers without paying a crazy amount on money in ads?
For sure. So maybe let me also share a little bit about my business with everyone. So Growbee, we do one thing, which is to teach international students how to network. And how we monetize is through a networking bootcamp. Okay, so we are B2C, direct to consumer. So to date, we have about 1,200 paying customers, and we spend $0 in marketing. And that is because we are very particular in the way that we reach our customers. So as I mentioned, I have a very particular niche of international students I'm tapping into. We're starting with Chinese international students. So we use two ways specifically. One is social media, and the other thing is partnership. The logic of kind of thinking through those channels is meeting my customers where they are. So for example, on social media, we're on this platform called Little Red Book. It is a Instagram-like, it is a Chinese social media app where all the Gen Z are on it. And so we spend a lot of time creating content, doing live stream daily on those platforms to acquire our customers. So for example, on a given live stream, we'll attract about 100 new leads coming into our pipeline. The other way we think about this is meeting customers where they are. So a lot of our prospects are students going to universities such as BU, BC, Northeastern, Harvard, MIT, etc. And so we form close partnership with student organization, even career center on campus to get to our customers. So right now is actually a very busy month for us because recruitment are kicking off. We're thinking about, networking as a more effective way to get your dream internship or job rather than applying things online. And so we create different workshops, content to attract our customers who are going through this process. The other point I would add is to really understand the pain points of your customer. So I myself was an international student myself, right? And for me, it was really difficult to network initially here in America because I'm operating a second language, it's a different culture, and I had no network to begin with. And so by understanding the pain points that our customers are going through, we're able to create content they're able to click, like, save, and share to their friends. And that's how you really attract them initially. The other thing I want to say is that it's really important to understand your sales pipeline, or like kind of the steps starting from lead generation to close, right? So for us, it's a very simple 4-step. One is I need people to discover who we are. So that's lead gen. We use social media and partnership. But the second thing is like, how do I talk to them to tell them a little bit more about my product? Because one of the challenge that we also face is market education, that people didn't understand that networking is an important component of career success. So as a company, we also bear that cost, if you will. And so with that, we do different events or engagement touch points, such as live stream or workshop, to help them understand this is important. Then we, for example, even direct them to talk to one of our sales advisor to talk to them about how our bootcamp can help them, and we close the call. And so by understanding in terms of a matrix and your conversion rate on each of the step in the funnel is really critical for us to understand, okay, what input do I need to have in order to increase the revenue, for example?
It's extraordinary. extraordinary. And one of the thoughts that, at least for me, bubbled up when you were talking is this aspect of authenticity. And I think that it's just like in anything, if you're selling anything, whether it's yourself or it's your company, your product, whatever, everyone isn't going to like you. So it's like, if you can just like, if you walk away from this and one of the key things you take away is really accept the fact that part of stepping into being really effective at outreach is understanding that if you're doing it well, you're going to get some bad reactions, because who you are is not for everybody. So it's like, that's it. And so the more you lean into being yourself, the more magnetic you become to attracting the people that are going to resonate with what you're doing and your style of doing business. So the idea of like, okay, it's either, it's like sort of have everybody kind of not give a crap, or have some people not like you and have some people really like you. It's like, let's go there. And so, so when you're getting rejections or when you're getting people having strong reactions to you, like, let that bolster you. Let you go like, you know what? Like, they're responding. Something's happening here, and not take that as like something that's can debilitate you. Because another thing in terms of outreach and doing what we're all doing is it is a game of sustaining. And so it's like swinging at the bat and being able to like keep it lighthearted, be yourself, take some calculated risks, keep it interesting. That's what makes you a sustainable person in this game. If you take rejections hard, that means the worst thing that happens is like takes you off the plate, because you have to go kind of like nurse yourself back to sort of a mental state or it could take you out for a day. Some people get really tanked by that. So, not as a, advertisement for my book, because it's really too hard. I actually suggest living with emotional dysregulation and low confidence over doing my book. But the point being that, tools for emotional regulation and like building your confidence are really important for the game that we're talking about right now. So Robert, I want to ask you a question here, because especially when we're talking about multi-channel and in this era, where we've really stepped over a line. When I came up, it was like there was a very clear line where it's like your business phone, your business email, totally, within bounds. And then as cell phones came in, cell phones were predominantly personal. And then it's like social media, it's like these are predominantly personal. It's like, so, as far as like drawing the line when it comes through outreach with various channels, is there a line? Let's start with that.
Is there a line? Rephrase that one more time for me.
Are there places you shouldn't contact people? Like, is text message too much on a personal phone? Is reaching out to somebody on like personal email? Like, where do you think is the?
Yeah, we try to keep, especially for first contacts. If you're reaching out to someone for the first time, it's best to keep it above board, keep it in professional channels. I think as your relationship gets warmer, it is a good idea, unless someone asks you to contact them on their personal email, etc. I think it's best to keep it professional at first. Let them get to know you professionally, and then you can ease into a more casual and a more kind of relaxed interaction and engagement.
I think that's good advice. And Kristen, do you think it's more beneficial for startups to invest in AI or to hire additional sales personnel?
That's a tough one, because again, I feel like it can go both ways. It depends on how early stage the startup is. It kind of depends on what industry you're in. But I think as a salesperson, a lot of the times you're having to get to know customers and you have to get to know prospects. You almost have to get them to a point where they admit they have a problem that they didn't know they had. I can't imagine AI being able to kind of work their way into that like a human could. So very early stage startups, I think it's more important to invest in people to really just build out that sales strategy. A lot of the times these early stage startups are introducing a completely new product or idea or just a new technique. With things that are new, the information that AI has in its database might not always be reflective of that product, technique, service, whatever it is. So again, you need that human interaction to kind of get creative in explaining what it is, that personalized approach to getting that prospect to realize that they have this problem you can solve for without them maybe even knowing they have a problem. If you have someone that is looking to buy a new toaster and they have a toaster at home that takes 5 minutes to toast a bagel, they might not know that there's a toaster out there that exists that can toast the bagel in 1 minute. They're not going to go out of their way to Google that or search to see if that exists. It's up to the toaster salesperson to get them to realize that problem that they have and to understand that there's a solution. So I think investing in salespeople, especially early on, is a little bit more important, in my opinion.
And also that 4 minutes is going to save your relationship with your children.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so I imagine there are folks that came here, and Josh, I was going to ask you the question, and I'm going to give you a chance to pass this if it's like too ridiculous, but can you share an example of an outreach attempt that didn't go as planned, but ultimately led to a breakthrough in in an insight for your team or your business? Like something that you learned from. You can pass on it if somebody, and we can move to Q&A. It's a tough one. If you're a good leader, you've forgotten all your mistakes and you've already iterated. So yeah.
Okay, so I might not be exactly answering your question, but here's what we found. So our outreach is very simple, right? Meaning, so as I've mentioned, we acquire customer through social media, but one of the hard things is that social media is more of a public domain, but how do I keep this person into my closer ecosystem? Let it be an email or WhatsApp or WeChat, right? So for us, email doesn't work as well because our audience are not really on their email. I like to check WeChat every day. Again, I'm targeting a very specific demo. And so for us, we're thinking about how do we get there? And so I actually want to share something that worked for us, but it was actually expected. So what we started to do is that we start to plant hooks in all of our live stream or our content. So for example, we created this like 20 pages coffee chat guidebook that everybody loved. And at first we're selling them. We're like, you know what? Let me just like sell this for $5 and use that as a lead gen. So we do that, but at the same time, we actually use that as a hook. So for example, in my live stream, I would say, if you do certain things, let it be share the live room or hit likes or whatever or comment. At the end of the day, you can redeem with us a free guidebook. And so basically, we're using this hook that has a value in our store as an incentive for us to engage with us and add us on our private channel, which is the WeChat. And so that's actually been proven very effective because as I was monitoring our matrix, right? The key problem was that we attract people to a live stream room, but we're unable to convert them into our own private channel. But with the hook, now we're seeing the percentage has a huge increase. So it wasn't a surprise, but a trick that works. So I guess like my point here is that don't be afraid to give out something of value, especially if you believe you're offering something really valuable. Because once people are able to see our work, they see the guidebook, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want to learn more about Groby. I want to learn what you teach in your actual bootcamp. So I want to schedule a call with your advisor. And getting our customer to be on a call with our advisor is critical because that's one of the big steps that we're able to close them.
That's amazing. Yeah, and the chat. I think chat, like how many people here have positive experiences with like chat on your websites driving some great leads? Yeah, because one of the things I think too is like in a shortened attention span, when you have folks that are thinking about something, they want to think about it right now. They don't want to wait to hear from you in 2 days. And so there's also a benefit of understanding sense of urgency that I think is more pressing than it's ever been. So you all here in the room have 3 distinguished experts here. And what I'd like to do, we'd like to open up the floor for Q&A, but if anybody is a brave enough soul that has a challenge that you would like to bring to the panel, we'd love, and we'll give you a little time to think on that. If there's something you're like, something you've been facing that you'd love to hear their thoughts on how to approach it. But do we have any questions from you folks? Anything on anyone's mind? Does anybody have anything they've done recently that's worked really well? We have a hand in the back there. Do you want to stand up and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Responding to the first question. So, my name is Sujandan. Hey, my name is Sujandan, and I have a small startup. So, for the first question, which was something that you need help on. So, how have you approached decreasing sales cycle lengths?
I can take this one. It's all about, like I said, getting them to identify and almost admit that they have a problem that you have a solution for. But then it's trying to identify where they're at in their own process of kind of dealing with that problem or identifying it. I found that it's helpful to connect them with a peer early on, someone who fits the same demographic as them, same business size, same deal size, someone who's kind of recently gone through that sales process, and they can kind of be your advocate and help to move that along a lot faster. I found that to be pretty helpful. Link them up with someone who you recently closed a deal with or someone that's happy with your product, and let them kind of take it from there and influence.
That's great
I like
advice.
to add to that. So I actually just recently was going through that myself. So just a bit more context. So summer is supposed to be our biggest sales because, again, people are getting ready for recruitment season. But in middle of the August, our team had about 20 calls, 0 close. And I look at the dashboard, I freaked out because this is impossible because we know our close rate consistently, and that was just an alarm to me. I was like, something is wrong in our sales process that it used to work but no longer working. So what was happening? So there are a few things that were happening. One is that we increased our price quite dramatically. We're talking about over 40% increase. But then our salesperson was using the same script that we used before when selling a cheaper product. And so when they were talking to a customer, they would be like, wait, it doesn't resonate with me. Hence, it's not working out. And so then what we did is that I myself started to take all the sales call myself, because my intention is to work out a sales script that can be, copied with my other salespeople, right? Because I know the product the best, because we recently changed our curriculum. And so that has been working out that we see our sales script increase again. Sales close rate increase again. So my point here is that I think it's really important that one, have a technology that can record all of your sales calls, so you can sit down with your team to review what went wrong. The second thing is that we should really have a dashboard or matrix to track your progress, right? So every week you would have a conversion rate on single step of your funnel. And so when the rate increase or drop, like, we should really ask ourselves, is it seasonal? So we actually have a seasonal business. Or for example, in like December and January, nobody wants to take a boot camp. Yeah, you know what? I don't want to teach either. It's on holiday. So I think understanding seasonality is important, because if on the high season you are not selling as much, something is going on. And so the other thing is, like, keep iterating on your sales script, because customer responded to it differently. And then we also actually A/B test our sales script. We ask certain questions in one call, and the different set of questions in the different call, just to see like which one the customer respond to it better. And so I think having a very rigorous process to understand your lead gen to sales close is extremely critical. And we take a look every week.
I think that's phenomenal guidance. I think one of the things too is that the investment in the time in creating the foundation and the fundamentals, I think there's a lot of rushing to just be closing deals when there's discovery, and there's actually building that needs to happen in terms of creating what is scalable. Because the other thing is the rush to being scalable can come at great peril before you actually understand what your message is and what resonates with people. So yeah. So Bob, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this before.
No, we're pre-revenue, so we're hoping to have that problem sometime soon.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have a lot of distinguished experience, like building revenue engines. So imagine if anyone else in you, sir. Yeah, you right. Where was that? Just a. Question. Yeah, go for it. Let's just. What? Oh no, please stand up and introduce yourself and ask away.
I'm Adam Wagman. I've got a small email marketing startup. And of course, ironically, I'm looking for non-email ways to sort of grow the user base. And so I sort of had a follow-up question for you, Kristen. You were talking about sort of using existing users as brand ambassadors to reach out to other people. I guess my two questions there are, one, how can we make it easier for an existing user to sort of be a brand ambassador, to be willing to reach out to other people? And the other one is just, how do you avoid the ick factor when you've got this other user suddenly reaching out to someone?
Yeah. What, if you don't mind me asking, what industry are you in? Are you selling to?
We're sort of email marketing for micro businesses.
Okay.
For the sole proprietor,
So
restaurant,
like small
florist, lawn guy,
business.
trying to make email that's just super easy to use. So
Yeah.
like not in we're trying to be MailChimp or Brevo or all the features, all the marketing power. We're like super easy to use for people who don't know how to do email marketing or are completely focused on trying to get their employees to show up on time and order the stuff for the restaurant. So that's sort of where we're aiming for.
Yeah. So,
No
so
clue if
kind
it's gonna work
of,
out. That's
kind
okay.
of like smaller businesses, like single owner type things. And that's really the ideal sort of segment, I think, for this pure leverage. I work in the dental industry. It's a very tight-knit, close-knit group of people. Dental offices, orthodontic offices, they operate for the most part, if they're not a large corporation, as their own small business. So it has that like mom and pop feel. And it really just you get them to a point where they're really happy with you and they're loving the service, they're loving the product that you have, and it almost comes naturally. I was in the session right before this. I don't know if you were in that one as well, but they talked about just if you're having to kind of ask for that referral, then you haven't done a good enough job at getting them to be really happy with the service. So it should be organic, it should be natural. What I found to be helpful is getting these people in the same room at the same time. Do an event, do a happy hour, wine tasting, get creative, whatever it is, get them together, throw out some questions. They'll start kind of chirping up and piling on and sharing their success stories. And I think that's a good way to kind of help it to come naturally, and do something like that virtually too. I think that's a good way to do it, is just getting them together and talking.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Any other questions? You, sir, with the
Mhm.
yeah.
Hi. So
Do you mind standing up and introducing yourself?
I'm kind of tall, but okay. Hello. So I run a company called 4Fish, and what we do is we help make sure that employees don't get fired. So that's that. That said, we build AI tools for people, and it's like one of the products that we have is something that auto-generates cadences based off of where form fills are filled. So that's the backstory. The question is, like, I'm a marketer myself, not much in sales. What are and it's like when coming over to construct the prompt that is for what is the sales role that you're looking for? What is your ideal age of experience? If you were to say this person is really good at what they're doing, they have 30 years of experience in what fields in specific for email marketing. And I'd also, in addition to that, this stuff is for crafting a prompt. What are your top 3 things that you're hoping that that person within that role would do?
For email marketing?
Well, yeah, this is for reaching in prospects and whatnot. The idea is when crafting the prompt, it's really good to know the role, the rest of the age, the role, the responsibilities, in order to then better craft a prompt that would do that task. So the idea is what are the top three goals that you would say with your expertise? You would say these are the 3 things that I'm looking for in order to create something like me.
I think if I think back on our email marketing, so the first thing that we want to do is really drill down on the target market, on who we're trying to connect with. I think secondly, kind of the industry that they're in, we kind of want to make sure that it's the right person and the right message, and how frequently we can use our AI, because we use it all the time. We use it for creating press releases. We use it for creating our social media posts. So just giving your AI as many keywords as possible.
Using that would confuse it. It's better to know. Well, sorry.
That's okay.
You have a limited amount of tokens. The more tokens they use to make it more detailed, the sooner it will come to start to forget the original prompt. So combining words, keywords, for instance, instead of there was a talk earlier in which they're saying world class. You're a world class sales director or whatnot. It's much easier to say you have 30 years of experience, because it'll act like it has 30 years of experience. World class what? World class intern? World class senior developer?
Yeah, it's tough to drill down on those and get
Yeah.
as specific as you can.
And I think like a conversation about prompts for fine tuning outreach is like it's a long reaching discussion. I think it's obviously a great topic that relates to what we're on today. I want to, in the interest of time, and I'm sorry to cut this off, I want to make the floor available if there are other folks here who have questions. All right. All right, stand up and make yourself
Yep.
known.
Hi, my name is Malloy Kundu. I have a company, Visiverse AI. We do computer vision for doing VR without a headset. We have consumer stuff, which is gaming related, but then we also have B2B interest in defense and others who may want to use it in place of VR headsets, so experiential advertising, that kind of stuff. So on that side of things, I'm just curious, for using LinkedIn or for X, which frankly we don't use much X right now, or Twitter, whatever. So I'm curious how you find that for B2B comparing versus LinkedIn. And on both fronts, I'm wondering how do you go about scheduling messages, especially with LinkedIn? Is there some tools for doing that, and also just AI tools in general that are helpful on both of those fronts? Sorry, a bunch of questions.
So you can schedule your posts in X, just through their platform. But if you want to reach out, DM to certain individuals on the back end of the platform, they have a search bar where you can type in what you're looking for. So, for example, I would put in healthcare investors or respiratory healthcare investors, and X will come up with a list of folks that you can connect with, you can message. Some of them are open to messaging, some of them don't. But I mean, it's a great platform it's a great way for just DMing. And like I said, we throw our just a little short elevator pitch into hit send, and we've had really, really great success from that standpoint.
More from X than from LinkedIn.
Yeah. But we do both. But we still do both.
That's a great question. All right. You with the blue and white blouse, she's been raising her hand for a while.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I work for a marketing tech startup called Funnel. I'm curious, as email unfortunately has not gone away, and we want to cut through the noise, as Kristen said, what are some subject lines that immediately go straight to your trash?
Anything with an emoji.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Good to know.
Because I feel like that's trying too hard.
Anything with the word free, exclamation points, try to stay away from that. We just try to keep them as benefit oriented as possible without going over the top. That's really what you want to communicate. You want it to reach somebody, like Kristen said, at that point where they are. So just keep it real and honest. Like, go through your pain points, figure out what's, and just A/B test which pain point and which benefit works the best in your results, in your open rates.
Josh, and do you have any?
We don't really do email marketing.
But wait for your email inbox.
I feel like that's hard because like I have so many emails. So like I only like click on the email of the name that I recognize. Everybody else, I leave it on the weekend if I have time to open them. So I also have like 1,000 unreads.
Yeah,
you guys are crazy. I clear everything. I can't
I
I can't
have
have
like
that
10
notification.
Yeah.
I can't have it. I have to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think one of the things about like the overall, like the leaning in friendliness is it's kind of saying I'm trying to sell something. And I think if you actually lean back, it's as counterintuitive as it seems or sounds, that if you lean back and you actually make yourself seem like it's an opportunity that's lost or something that actually does need to be attended to, you have a better shot. But writing that line in a way that's respectful is really important. All right. You choose. Lovely.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kia. So for B2B marketing and specifically like sourcing leads, there are many platforms out there, CRM platforms, Salesforce, Apollo, Hunter, HubSpot, etc. Is a more organic approach of finding leads better, or like just going through these like potentially one of these CRM platforms? If the CRM, which one for and why?
Anyone?
I'm happy to take it. So we're in a B2C business, but I think in thinking about whether you do organic marketing, so that's usually driven by content or events versus paid marketing, I always go for the organic marketing because of the quality of the leads, right? People come to you, they want to like talk to you because of whatever you're putting out there attracted them. And so organic marketing, the benefit is that the leads are very good quality, but the downside is it takes longer time, and sometimes you have to try different channels. But even for B2B, I have founder friends who are building B2B startup. They actually found going to conferences to generate leads to be extremely helpful, because people, again, it's the same mindset of like, I want to meet the people in pockets. So it's very efficient for me, right? So if I don't know what industry you're targeting, but in every single industry, there must be one conference that happens every year that everybody goes to. And so I'll be sure to like be at those conferences and book those meetings in advance. And then so you can get some people on the Zoom call.
And you know what works great for us also? I completely agree with everything you just said. We hire some interns. They work for free. And you set them the task of finding certain leads, give them a list and put them to work. People love, my daughter, she's a sophomore in college, and this summer she's going to get an internship somewhere.
That's the
interns.
provocative, controversial take we promised. The free labor. All right,
We get interns every summer.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, I'm Kathy Pattison. I've been in startups. I'm a marketing leader, been in startups for about 25 years. I recently came across a company that I think has a really interesting method to try to break through the noise. And I wanted to get your take on whether you've seen something like this. So it's essentially sort of an incentive for taking meetings. And it's generally something with social impact. So if you take a meeting with me, I will donate money to a cause that's important to me or a cause that's important to you. Have you seen any of this, particularly maybe to Kristen in more deeper in the sales funnel? Have you seen this kind of approach, and has it been effective?
I have seen it. I think it is effective. I think this concept has a really short shelf life before it gets overused. There's only so many times you can see the same thing. I think the first time I saw something like this was a couple years ago, and someone had reached out to me to try and get me on a meeting, and they said, please, if you get on this meeting, I get $10 and I'm going to use it to buy tacos and spicy margaritas after work. And I could relate to that. So I was like, fine, I'll take the meeting. But I think it's one of those things where the first time you see it, it's cool and different and unique. I think if you see it 5-10 times, like anything else, it will get a little kind of overdone. But I have seen it and I do think it's effective. I just don't think it will be long-term effective.
I also want to quickly add to that. I think lead qualification is so important. Because I think it's really important to understand why this person wants to take a call with you. Because if they're doing it for the free tacos and margarita, nothing wrong with that. But that might not be your ICP, ideal customer profile. Then you are wasting your time. And so for us, we are very careful in qualifying our leads because we want to ensure the success rate for everyone.
Yeah, there's definitely an ASP factor there. I mean, if somebody's going to take your call for a $5 Starbucks gift card, I mean, you've got to kind of begs a question about like what 30 minutes of their time is like worth to themselves and to the business. So it was a great question. One last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Anyone else? Any brave souls? You choose. I'm out of the choosing game.
Thank you. Yeah, mine is Mark Zheng. I'm building a community called like a Boston AI Forum. The question that I have is for Robert. You mentioned you do a lot of like outreach through X. So my question is in terms of I have not been using X for quite a while, and when you do currently using X, do they place a limitation about the amount of DM that you can do each day, and is it some kind of paid service there, and what is the successful rate that you reach so far? So that's
we haven't hit a ceiling yet in terms of the number of DMs that we can send out. In terms of response rate, I'd say if we do, we're probably 15-20%, which is really, really good. I mean, of that 15 to 20%, some of them turn into really, really good engagement. For example, I said, this is how we engage with the lead investor on Zoom and on Canva. And we've had a number of other venture capitalists and high net worth individuals and angel investors that we've connected with too. So, I mean, it's relatively a small amount of time, but there's quite a bit of impact and return on that time, in my opinion.
And I think one of the things about X right now too is it's a controversial spot to be in as far as as relative to other social media platforms. So I mean, when we're talking about going places that you're kind of doing reverse rush hour traffic, and I think there's a benefit to just considering X as being a place where there are people that are migrating out of it, but you have a lot of people that are really doubling down and staying in it. So I think it presents a nice chance there. So that is going to wrap up our Q&A program aspect of this program. To wrap up this session, what I'd like to do in closing is ask each of our distinguished panelists to either make an offer or an ask from the audience. And I will start with...
Have Kristen start.
Kristen.
I would ask everyone to just be creative in how you approach things. Try something different. If you fail and it doesn't work, tweak it and try it again. Like, don't be afraid to be creative and try something different. I did that a bunch of times and eventually kind of figured it out. So just be creative.
That's a great one. Who's next?
I'll go next. I'm a big believer in trust the process from when it comes to a marketing standpoint. Like you said, you're going to hit your bumps and your bruises, and you're going to get folks who give you this, that, and the other. But I think if you trust in the process and stick with it, you really will see a good return on your marketing efforts.
Yeah. For me, I would say start niche. I know this might be like counterintuitive, but I guess like we're a type of business where like we want to do one thing extremely well before we copy and paste the playbook to other segment or other services, because to do one thing really well already takes tremendous effort. And we are bootstrapping, and it's an intentional choice. So we have to be very efficient in everything that we do. And so to Kristen's earlier point, cut through a noise. So we are extremely focused on one target demo and selling one thing. And we're just, going to be very focused on that. So that would be my suggestion as well.
Just taking one POV picture here. Smile, you guys. Looks like this is fun. All right, so it's clear the space is evolving quickly. Thank you, everyone especially for staying in this boiling hot room. I know I'm fighting for my life up here. Thank you to our amazing panelists and to all of you for joining us. But let's keep pushing boundaries to what's possible. Before we wrap up, I want to say a special thank you to our star organizer, Odalise Guzman. Stand up and make yourself known. Remarkable job. And for Odalise, if you have any connections or conversations you're looking to be making through Startup Boston, if you want to take a minute to say these are the types of conversations, listen, you're amazing, and fantastic job with this. Thank you. But anyhow, now you can clap for our fantastic panelists. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Great job.